guys, welcome back to Realistic Outdoors. I'm Scott. We're going to continue on with the build if you've been following along. Today's the day we're going to start working on the back door, or the back wall and the back door. So first of all, shout out to Alan Karn, one of my favorite subscribers. He's constantly pestering me to get this done. No offense, Alan, I know you're not pestering me. We've had probably the most interesting winter I think we've had in forever. Since I've lived here, we had a lot of minus 35, minus 40. It's not even worth me warming my shop up at that point because I just waste fuel, and I'm trying to do this on a budget. And I feed this with portable propane, so that would mean I'd go through quite a few tanks, and that's just not what I'm interested in doing. And to get it to be 14 or 15 or 16 degrees in here, it would have to run steady. So right now we have a reprieve. Right after the minus 35, it snowed about this much, so all my weekends were busy. I got out ice fishing once, and we did well. Thank you for asking. And but today we've had lots of time to think about what we're doing. You'll see some stuff I have mounted up here, like this run here and this header piece of wood this way, and then this small piece down the side. And what I've done there, I just wanted to get an idea of how much space I needed to walk through, as minimal as possible, so I'm eliminating more possibilities for leaks. And one thing that I hadn't considered, this couch is right up against my finished wall. The box ended up being about, I think, 2 inches longer or wider than I had anticipated, just so I could house the drawer, my cooking drawer. And that added an issue on the back that, you know, just popped up. So what that means is, if I mount my back wall, it's touching there, so I don't have room to insulate. That said, during my minus 35, minus 40, I did a test in here. I just put a tarp on the back of this, and I have a small electric heater, and I put it inside, and after about 25 minutes of running, this was a steady 16 degrees, 17 degrees from a very tiny electric heater. So I'm seriously not worried about the heat leak anymore. The back wall will be 3/4 inch plywood, and yes, I could insulate out this way, but after that test, I just don't feel like it's worth it. So what I have planned is I'm going to, because one full sheet of 3/4 inch plywood, because this is a 5x5 at the back, won't fit. It'll only fit in one direction and leave a space in the other. I had to decide where the best spot was to run a seam. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this wood, because I wanted to see where the best spot was for me, because I'm actually going to have the door frame as the seam. So I will have a piece of wood. Actually, I'm probably going to go with aluminum, but it'll be on the back side to catch the door. I don't know if you can see that at home, but so I'm going to use 2 inch by 1/4 inch aluminum bar stock. I'm going to put it on the back, and I'm going to mount a piece of wood from the pallets. I'm going to channel out a piece to receive, so it'll sit flush on the back side, and that'll actually be what holds the door and the door latch. So because I have to frame it to cover the seam, I need it to be far enough forward of this couch, because I don't need anything extra rubbing on that couch. Every time I open and close it, possibility of tearing the couch or wearing the couch out. So I've moved this. Center is about here, so I've decided that there is where I'm going to start, and the door is going to be offset. So what I'm going to do next is try and get the left side put up. The plywood's back here. I'm not going to stain it. I'm not going to Thompson seal it because I was speaking with the fiberglass guys over the weekend, or last weekend, which, by the way, all my fiberglass and resin have arrived. They said try and absolutely limit the amount of pressure treated or any kind of a stain that you're going to put on the wood, because the fiberglass epoxy will have sometimes chemical effects between the two, and they will repel each other or create gas pockets. And he said, why would you bother if your fiberglass is done properly and you've skim coated the wood prior to with the epoxy resin? That should waterproof your wood even better than the water seal stuff would. So I guess they're the experts with their fiberglass, so I'm going to take their word on it. I don't know. It sounded logical to me. So what else? I'm going to put in some 2x3 frames. I'm going to use them for the top and bottom, and I don't think I'm going to have any space here to frame it, and I don't know if I even want it on the side to be in my way. So I think I'm just going to frame it top and bottom just to give it a little extra something for the 3/4 inch plywood to screw to. I've got, this is solid, this isn't solid, it's 1x2 or 1x4 on edge, so it's not the best. I am going to glue and screw, but I will limit the amount of screws into that side wood just because it's so thin. In fact, I probably will pilot all the holes before I put screws in it, just to avoid cracking. And that's it. So on the inside, I guess you'll see all this when I'm finishing, but on the inside with the two boards framing, and then the 1x6 or 1x4 that'll be on the back side of this for the support between the two, and then the window will be here, so I'll also have some frame in there. It'll kind of start to make sense because I think I'm going to make the boards black to match my back piece here. So I think this wall will be black, and then I will probably either polish the aluminum edges, so I may frame the window with aluminum, but I'm not sure yet, just to save space. I don't want that to be sticking out in front of the couch. Anyway, I'm going to get started on this. I think I'm going to put it in fast forward, hyperlapse, just because I am going to scratch my head. This has been a procrastination chore for me. I was actually happy that it was cold for a while. So it's still, I could see my breath here a few minutes ago. I think it's -4, -5 outside, but it's finally warming up in the shop, and I am now motivated to get this done, especially for Alan. All right, shout out to you, Alan. All right, here I go. Hang tough. Well, I got something new over the Christmas holidays because I don't have a table saw, and I've been using that big long bar which takes up too much room. It's called the AccuCut. It's made by Craig. It's basically a way to turn a standard hand or circular saw into a track saw. So I'm going to attach its base plate to it, and then once it's set up, it's just basically dropping this plate in here, lining that mark up, and making a perfect cut. Now, that's what they say on the videos. I'm going to cut my 3/4 inch plywood that way, and we shall see. Hopefully, this is going to be a game changer for me. Okay, well, I got the sled hooked up on the saw, and the saw is off on its laser and on its bed because it fell off my shelf. And, you know, I put it up on the shelf to be safe, and then it fell off the shelf. So that's how it rolls. So I got it set up, and I did a test cut on a scrap piece of wood. And they did claim, because there's like these rubber pieces in the bottom, that you can just lay it here and slide it. I did not find that at all. Yeah, I got about a quarter of the way and it kind of moved a little bit. So because that sled fits on here so tight, there's no place for a clamp. So what I did was I put a couple screw holes, and then I ground off the head 3/4. And from my initial test, it appears like it could bump. Oh, of course, on the blade fitting, so I take the blade off. It should pass over that with a little bump, but then I don't have to worry about it getting on a track. I think I'm gonna countersink those holes just to drop them down a little bit further, and then I'm gonna give that a try. Yeah, I countersunk those screws a little further. They seem like a very negligible piece. So yeah, didn't even make a bump. So I'm gonna make the first cut. Let's get started. Well, that appeared to cut it. I'll have to check the square, but the sled worked great. I didn't have to worry about it flexing, and of course the plywood's quite a bit thicker. I did get a little bit of blue, you can see in the shavings. When I set up the sled, I set it up a little tight to the guide, but at least I know exactly where it's cutting now. Kind of fun thing too is on the sled, it actually has a mark with a little white line. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on camera or not. A little red line in there off the clear. I lined that up to the mark. Down she went. Perfect. So I guess the proof is in the pudding here. Check this with square. Just gotta set this table back up so I don't knock everything down. I guess, and now I have to be careful with this because that sled is plastic. And if I drop it this time, I will wreck it. But that just made that cut with so much more confidence, and hopefully it's true. So I'll put the square on here. It's good, I need some extra 3/4 plywood for my stairs. Oh yeah, that is tight square. Woohoo! I haven't seen anything that square since we used to build the blocks for the pyramids back in Egypt, and that was a while ago. Alright. So now I have the height of my left hand side. Now I gotta cut the length of the left hand side, and then I will drill in my holes for my cables, and then I'll put it up and swear it because it doesn't fit. Measuring and me don't work. I like to put things up, draw a line, and cut that line. I might still do that now that this fits better. Oh brother. Okay, I think I'm gonna do that. Okay, so this piece is going to be 35 inches from here to that offset center line that I talked about earlier. So I'm just going to set this up on my 35-inch mark. I know some of you are at home are thinking, hey, Scott, what happened to your mouse? I'll tell you, he was evicted with extreme prejudice. Okay, well this obviously doesn't go the whole length. You can buy extensions for these, so you can actually rip a 48-inch or an 8-foot board, but I figure most of my cuts, most of the stuff I'm doing, I'm not ripping, I'm cutting on width, so I will get to that far and then I will just move it to the other side, flip it around. I think that should work, but I'll give this a go. Well, if there was apprehension with this new piece of saw kit, it has long since left. That is perfect cuts with minimal effort. That little trick I had showed you before by using your offset on your square, not necessary. Draw a line, set up your track, lay it on the mark, make a perfect cut. Guy can't argue with that. Now I'm just gonna measure and drill the holes for the wires. Should be good to go. Good to go. Okay, I have my measurements. I'm gonna transfer them onto here. That should be accurate. But again, need to measure. So what I'm going to do, just to make sure I don't have a gigantic 10-foot hole where my wires are going to go, I'm going to drill a smaller hole first, line it up there. If it looks good, then I will make it bigger. At least this gives me an opportunity to move it left, right, or up or down without losing anything. Alright, let's have a little look-see. Shall we? Let's see what kind of swear words Scotty has for us. Probably seen I knotted all my wires. Only makes sense. The last thing you need is to yank one from the other end and then you can't get back at it. That sucks. Easy knot. Save yourself so much time. These are just lines up. I might just leave these holes small. Let's see. See how close I get. No way, Jose. Those fit with the tiny hole. Woohoo! So, I will just leave it like that. Now, you might not be able to see this on camera, but there's an extra piece of wood down here. It's not connected to my camper, but I found that this mesh was flexing a little bit. And when I stood the doors up, I wanted to make sure it was as square as possible. So I propped up the back, and then I ran some sheets of plywood, all kinds of scrap stuff that I had in there, and then I ran this 1x4 on edge, and I left it proud so that I can set it like I'm setting it right now. So when I screw to it, it's sitting level and square, and then I don't have to try and hold it up. It was just something so I don't have a spare pair of hands, so that helped. Okay, I'm gonna put a couple screws in that. Then I'm gonna take out my brace. Oh, by the way, you wonder why that brace is there? Good eye. This one time when I was hiking in the Kilimanjaro, I realized that I needed a... I'm kidding. I didn't hike the Kilimanjaro. I saw it on TV though once. Would you believe a magazine? I'm not sure. This side of the left-hand side had a tiny flex in it. And when I started this video, you'd seen that there was a ratchet strap on it. So I just ratcheted it to square. And then I just put the shim in there, that cross member, just to keep it... Uh-oh. Just in the shop. Red alert. Not COVID. You're good. COVID free. So I just screwed it together on that brace, measured from the same space in the top and the bottom, cut a brace that big, put it in the middle, put some screws in it just to make sure it's squared off. So now when I put screws in this down the side along the bottom, it'll be square, and then I can take that out and that piece of plywood will hold it in shape. But I gotta go in the house to get the glue because it's not in here because it was too damn cold. Well, it was too good to be true. So it still isn't 100% square on this side, and instead of leaving myself a 1/4 inch just in case, I made it exactly the right size, which means when I tried to line the holes up, I was perfect at the bottom on this end and out a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch at the top end on this side, which is why I like to leave a little bit of extra. So now there's 2 holes in the top because I had to move it over 3/4 of an inch so that it's proud on the bottom and it's overhanging on the back side. At the top there's a little reveal here, 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna have to trim that afterwards. No big deal. I'll just make up some sawdust and glue, fill those holes. But for now I'm gonna grab some screws and I'm gonna wedge that up a little bit. It's a little bit lower than the bottom. And then glue and screw that in and go from there. Okay, I just trimmed a small piece of coroplast. I'm going to set it on that piece of wood there. You see there's still a little bit of flex in it. And I want to keep this piece up just a tiny bit. So I'm going to put it in hyperlapse and screw down. Okay, the board is up. It's all squared. This needs to be trimmed. But right now I'm going to fill those holes using my sawdust and glue technique. Yeah, years ago I'd never be able to get any matching wood putty, so I would just make my own. And I have found over the years this to be way stronger and less flaky. So just mix the glue till you get a thick dough and then shove it in the hole. This has got some blue pieces of plastic in it. Not gonna hurt anything. I'm fiberglassing and painting over it anyway, so I'm not too worried, but it is a reasonably large hole, so just to make sure I'm not having any water. Not that I think it's gonna be, but there's one done. And number 2. Super simple, and always matches the color of wood that you're using. Imagine that. No looking for special colors to match. You just have to get it thick enough. And there you go. There's number 2. Press that in there really well. There you have it. There's no more holes. In fact, really that's how plywood is made. Sort of. On the bigger sheets. So I'm happy with that. It's unfortunate, but it's no big deal. It is what it is. No big deal. So, now that this is up, I wanted to show you guys, okay, now here's a piece of coroplast, and I'm gonna show, oh actually, here's a better example right here. Here's a piece of walnut. This is basically gonna be the exact same size as the aluminum bar I'll be using. So, in behind, oh, it's a little bit longer than I wanted for an example. So in behind, it will stick out halfway. Just like that. So the door will hit up against this, and then the gasket material that I have clips on to the edge of this and will seal the edge of the door, theoretically. Which is very much how a car door works. So I'm hoping it'll work on this as well, because I've seen a lot of people talking about leaks and issues and stuff, and I've seen people put gaskets on the door, and some people put them on the frame, but I will be putting it on the frame. So now the next piece that I cut, I'm going to screw up here, and I'm going to cut to this level, and then I'm going to leave about that much same space down here for strength. And then I'm actually going to draw the line, and I'm going to cut it in place, hopefully, and then I'm going to put the hinges on it while that cut is there. And then I'll take the board down and I will cut the other piece, the other 2 pieces, and that way now this is a theory of mine. If you make the first cut, put the hinges on before you cut the other piece out, you should be in exactly the right spot for square. Maybe? I don't know. Seems like it would work. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to get this piece up and try and get the door so that it swings today, and then I may call it a day, or I may keep working because I spent so much money heating the shop today. I might just keep going. All right, let's give her a go. Alright, I got this one cut to height, 62 inches, or 62 and a little bit. Now I'm going to cut it to, what did I just say, 29. Yeah, and now look what you did. You made me forget. 29 and a half. Yes, 29 and a half inches. And hopefully I won't screw anything up. So far, this AccuCut has been amazing. So much faster. And so much lighter than my big bar. Now, don't get me wrong. Props to my big bar. It never failed me. But being a 12-foot bar in this space doesn't give me a lot of room. So I really should cut this the other way so the screw holes are in the waist piece. Does that make sense? Sure. Sure it does, Scott. Put the screw holes in the waste piece. I don't have a measurement there. Measure 17 times, cut twice. That's what they used to say in the army. Now these little countersink holes seem to work really nice, because once you get the sled on this lined up, there is no worries. That is going to cut exactly where you tell it to. Exactly. It's a pretty cool little gizmo. I mean, my only doubts is that it's not quite as robust as I would want it to be, like if it was made of metal. Also, you see this flap gets trapped on that. I should just wire that flap right up. But once that's in the sled, that's it. You're going to cut exactly where you mark, so you better mark it right. Right into my sawhorse. See? We talked about this once already. My sawhorses have plenty of complaining from me. Lots of war wounds. I may invest in the extension. I wasn't going to buy it until I knew this was worth the money, but it is just channeled aluminum. It comes with another piece of this with some more connectors that you stick underneath. So I think I am going to do that, because it is definitely worth it. Alright. Sorry, the back is to the camera. Probably don't need that other screw, but put it in there. Right. So I just want to talk about one unknown for me, and that's the fiberglass thickness. So if this is the door and I fiberglass this side all the way around, which I will, because I'm not just going to fiberglass the front and then not have the sides. And then I'm going to fiberglass the door separate all the way around. How thick is that going to be? Because now this piece is going to come out here like this. And that's my door. I fiberglass around, from the top around and inside. Make my cuts around and inside. So that's going to have a thickness. Then I'm going to fiberglass the door itself, and it's going to have a thickness. So, you know, I've been concerning myself about these tight edges, which is pretty tight, by the way. But I'm going to have to sand these or plane them to allow for some thickness of the fiberglass. So I think I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit more. These two sheets are so totally different. Exactly what am I gonna do to allow for that? So I'm gonna have to go online and calculate. Now I do have my epoxy and my fiberglass. Maybe what I'll do is I'll cut off a small bit. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a piece of board in the house and I'm gonna fiberglass it, and then I'm gonna see the difference. I'll use my calipers and see the difference in thickness from one layer, then the fiberglass, wet it out, and then one more layer on top to finish. And then I'll use that as a calculation, because I know for a fact my seams are super tight. It's not going to work with fiberglass on it. I'll end up sanding all my fiberglass off. I do want the joints to be tight though, so I'll have to really think about this. But for now, yeah, for now I'm gonna glue and screw that, because the door will be the only difference. The door is the only thing that'll make a difference. Those need to be tight. Oh no, it needs to be tight at the bottom, the top, because I'm actually using this as one side of the door opening. So I'm gonna cut it there, just a U. So that'll be one side of the door. So I will only have to change the thickness of the door, which will be about a saw thickness. Okay, well, I'm just guessing now. I'll have to do that fiberglass test and see. But if you guys are fiberglassing at home, it's probably important. Prudent is the word I was looking for. To check it out and see what thickness, and it depends on what thickness of glass you're going to use. I've bought 6 ounce. I've seen some people using 4 ounce, and I think 10 and 12 is, I think it's overkill, to be honest. But I don't know the finished thickness. I'll look online and see if I can find out, but I think testing it myself would be the best way to find out. So, mental note, gotta figure that out. Okay, well I got the walls up, and it's a little out of square in the bottom center, but I'm going to be rounding that. When I flip this over and put the rhino liner on the bottom, I'm going to bring it up to about this far all the way around the trailer. So the whole bottom, and then up about 6 inches. So I will be rounding all these corners off, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to hit them with my plane, or my electric planer, and then I'm going to sand them so they're very round. Just from all what I've been reading, rhino liner and fiberglass, they adhere to rounder corners better than square corners. So, all right, well now I've got the door kind of drawn out. I actually pulled out this device. I believe they call it a level. Back when I was on the International Space Station, they didn't work, so I just threw it out. Haven't used it since. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the door top line was level, because there's still a little bit of sanding, rounding off to do here, so I didn't want to go off of the top, because I have it a little bit proud on the top there, because I'm going to round it. So anyway, there's the door. It doesn't look that big, but I think it's 23.5 inches. I mean, no, legally I can't get a full-size stove or fridge in there, but I can get in there. I'm a pretty big guy. I have to kind of duck and step in anyway, so it's not like you can walk straight through. So that's what I had all those original pieces out for, was to test kind of the size. At the beginning of the show, I had those pieces cut in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this gizmo, and because I've actually tapped some screw holes, I should be able to mount this, put a screw there and there, and then actually cut this right in while it's sitting here. Now that said, it may be worth me just taking it down and doing it flat. I'm gonna hum and haw over both options here in a second, but probably I'm gonna take it down, lay it out here, do that first cut, get the hinge in, finish that cut, put the second hinge in. Yeah, I think I'll lay it down. It's probably easier to see anyway on camera. So I'm going to push stop, get this down, put it in fast forward, and make that cut. Okay, so I made this main cut with the circular saw. I finished it with the jigsaw. And while the cut was in place and the board isn't loose, I took my hinges. These are freezer hinges. I ordered them off Amazon. I'll have them included in the list at the final, once I have all my parts and everything. So, in theory, I should be able to make this cut, that cut, and this door will be in perfect position, and I don't have to worry about it. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna frame this up, or square this up, make this cut, that cut, and if it works, I'm gonna glue this frame back up there. Now when I'm done, these screws are temporary. I just put 3/4 inch screws in, so I know they're not going through. And when I'm done and fiberglassed and installed, I will use security bolts. Well, these are nice. You can unscrew them and pull the hinge right out, the hinge pin. So, I guess there's no point in that, but I didn't realize that you could unbolt these and pull the hinge out. That's interesting. I'll have to put something on there so people can't unscrew it and take my door off. Oh wait, this is going to be up. I guess I'm not too worried about it, but I was going to put some security bolts through so that you can't unscrew them with a screwdriver. I guess it's not going to much matter. One of the reasons I'm leaving this ramp here for access, and when I'm away for the day, I can lock it up, put the padlock in it, and not worry about it. And yes, I thought about people locking me in, so I will just lock it in the down position when I go to bed, so people can't actually use the lock. That's not to say somebody's not going to tie me in there or something, but I do have windows if I have to get out. So that's what I'm going to work on tomorrow, I think. If I can get this door up today, I think I'll get the window in there tomorrow. And looking good. So far, so good. Well, theoretically, I have a door. See if I can stand this thing up without killing myself. Pinching my fingers off, etc., etc. Wow, that's fun. So that little trick works. I don't know if somebody else has thought of it. Doesn't matter. I came up with it, even if somebody else already did. I did not see this, but look, that line is absolutely perfect. And of course, these are freezer hinges, so they only come halfway. They have stoppers on them. A guy can grind these down a little bit so you can get a little bit further, but I can go square into there. So super stoked about that. All right, Alan, I finished the back wall for you, buddy. I think I'll put the hardware on, but I need to put a board on the inside. Let me show you what I'm using for the hardware before I end this piece of the program. So hardware, and again, trying to go cheap, or no, trying to go inexpensive. The actual hardware is pricey. Like some of the handles, just decent handles, were running in the range of $85 to $115 just for a handle. I only paid like 20 bucks for these hinges. Yeah, I had to wait forever from the slow boat from China, but those are nice solid hinges. So here's what I got. It's a locking garden handle. So it actually locks and it mounts into this piece here. One of the big problems I was having is once I had decided I could only use 3/4 inch plywood, the thickness of the wall wasn't a standard 1.5 inches or 1 3/4 inches. So passage sets wouldn't work because the shafts are too long, and I didn't want to have to hack all that stuff apart, and maybe it didn't work and maybe it would, I don't know. So this I can adjust to whatever size I want and then just take this off. This also gives me a handle on the inside, but it's also the lock. So on the inside it will turn and make the lock, and I can use this as a handle to unlock. So this will be absolutely perfect. And this cost me $18, and it is really heavy and solid. So I'm super stoked about that. It's got a little set pin, so I adjust the height. I can mark that and just pull it off with my bandsaw. Done. But how will I lock it? Well, it's a really solid piece of steel, and I think what I'm going to do, and I've seen this online somewhere, somebody else did this, shout out to them. So on the inside, I'll drill a hole. So once I've locked it from the inside, I'll drill a hole here, and I'll have a little deadbolt. So I can put it in there, and then people can't turn the handle to get in. And if a smart bear like Yogi knows how to use a handle. So, cheap. That's inexpensive way to do a door handle. It'll lock from the outside, it'll lock from the inside. But I'm going to run some framing in here because I'm going to paint the inside of this black, and I'm going to run some wood that I'm going to color the same color that I've made the inside of this. So it should stand out and pop really nice. And then once that is through there, it'll give me a little extra thickness for my door to go onto and to lock onto on this side. Now, the reason I went 3/4 inch plywood is, and now that I'm not building the wall thicker, it's a one-shot deal and it's done. And when I started this box, that sheet of plywood was $195. And just before Christmas, they were $47. So I had budgeted for about $100 to do the back wall. So I was able to get 2 of them. And now I got some spare 3/4 inch so I can fix my stair treads. So pretty happy with that, the way it sits. I'm gonna leave this and end this back wall segment. And I'll upload this tonight, and then tomorrow I'll start on some handles. So thanks you guys for watching, and hopefully it doesn't get super cold tonight. And yeah, it's coming along. We've got ourselves a wall and a door. pretty cool. Thanks for watching. Take care, you guys. Oh, here's my off button over here.